Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Gemology for Schmucks. My name is Peter Nelson, and I'm here to guide you in everything you need to know about gemstones. And today we're grappling with one of the most fundamental questions in the gem business. How does a schmuck make a buck? That's actually a tagline from an email I got over a year ago, and it's still sitting in my inbox. Because while it is an exceptionally simple question, it is bafflingly difficult to answer. But don't worry. There are many people in the gem trade who have been in it for decades who are still asking this question every day. If I were to rephrase the question, how does a schmuck make a buck? I would say, how can I profit at buying and selling gemstones? And the infuriatingly simple answer is, buy gemstones for cheaper than you can sell them for. How do you know how much you can sell your gemstones for? You don't, until you offer them for sale and succeed. So the conclusion that I've come to, and that I've heard from many of my colleagues, is that buying the right stone is not as important as finding the right buyer. I asked for some advice from a seasoned gem dealer years ago, and they said, never buy a stone you can't sell. And that sounds quite enigmatic, but it brings us back to this same point that we've been beating around the bush to get to. The stone itself is not as important as who it's presented to and in what context. As I've said before, everything has a value. But the context that it's offered in is what determines its real value. You can have whatever asking price that you want, but unless there's a motivated buyer for that price, it's not a real price. It's an asking price. The true market price is the one that motivates individuals to buy. And that is constantly changing for certain types of stones because the supply of those stones does not meet with the demand for those stones. General business, right? And the frustration for a lot of people, I think, comes from one misconception about the gem market that is different from the stock market. The stock market is the kind of place where everything is fungible. And as long as you hit the sell button, the price may change, but your object is going to sell. Physical objects do not work that way, particularly in things like houses, cars, horses, and obviously gemstones. You need to have a buyer that understands and desires that object at a given time in order for the sale to go through, and particularly quickly, which is why certain houses sit on the market for a long time before they're able to move. The exact same is true for gemstones. It may move very quickly, or it could take generations, and that all comes down to finding the right buyer. So what gemstones do I buy? I buy gemstones keeping that long-term perspective in mind. If I want to profit, then I try and buy gemstones that I believe are good value at that time and in a rare quality. So I tend to buy 1 to 5 carat stones in good and unique colors in higher and rarer qualities that I can use either in my own jewelry or present to a private collector. For me, I don't try and sell in Bangkok most of the time. For me, it is much more profitable to sell to a third-party nation that doesn't have the same access to gemstones that I might. Even if I were to resell the quality of goods that I have inside of Bangkok, I still stand to profit because I'm buying these rarer qualities. But the amount that I profit in that location is going to be smaller because they've seen more flow. And they also believe that they have a better chance of seeing another one soon. Whether that's true or not, who knows? But a rare quality here, when it's sent over to a third-party retail market, the context that I'm offering that rarer quality in is all of a sudden quite different. A stone that was difficult to find in Bangkok is now next to impossible to find over here in the United States, Canada, Japan, etc., etc. So that's where I look to make my money. The value that I'm bringing here is curating exceptional stones, and then I put them in a context where the value can be seen clearly. That makes business easier and higher value for both parties. Collectors and business owners over in these nations are busy living their own lives. They don't have the time to scour the market like I did. And even if they wanted to take the time and expense to come and scour the market, good luck finding stones on par with the ones that I've found. You might, but how much does it cost, both in time and money, to do so? Some individuals go and buy a high-value stone and then struggle to resell it. Does that mean that the stone has lost value? It does not. It just means that they don't have the selling network to make it easy. This stone is not put into the right context. So for private collectors, it's oftentimes much more profitable, rather than trying to do it themselves, to put it in the hands of a broker, someone such as myself, who can offer it to their network. Because of that selling relationship, the stone may move much faster and at a higher value. The broker and then the original owner of the stone would then share some portion of the profits. So this is a situation where we have to recognize that the stone and the relationships both have value. The value of those relationships can be directly quantified as the difference between the asking price in a public market and then the private collectors markets. So does that mean that all hope is lost for individuals that don't have time to cultivate these relationships? Not necessarily. But what I will say is that I encourage you to think before buying your stones, who is it that you would approach to buy your stones? Who is it that might see value in what you buy? And how well do you understand their needs? I'm buying stones that I like that are rare, but another jeweler may just be dealing in the big three, ruby, sapphire, and emerald. So if you were to build a relationship with those jewelers, and you were collecting stones that you know that they frequently sell on to their clients, then the chances that you can sell your stone at a later date goes up a lot, particularly if that jeweler already knows you well. Why wouldn't they want to have easy access to stones that they like without having to sink money in it right now? You're basically acting as a value bank for them. They'll have supply chain stability without having to sink their own capital. They may be selling the big three, but the fact that they're selling colored stones already tells me that that's at least an open door to go talk to them about some of the other stones I have. Rarer colors of spinel, spessartite garnet, a favorite of mine. These are stones that I could present to them as another option for their clients. And that opens the door for us to have a value exchange. With that relationship, we can do business and we can both profit. So to keep this initial video on the simple side, what I'll say is that when you buy gemstones, buy them because you like them. But if you're planning on selling them, buy with your market in mind. Think about who it is you would offer your stone to before you go about buying it. Is this a jeweler? Is it a private collector? How do you cultivate those relationships? Because just like with a house or a horse or a car, you need a buyer who can appreciate what you're offering. So if you've got any questions or comments, leave them in the comments section below. Hit like, hit subscribe if you haven't already. Tell all of your friends about me, and until next time, bye-bye.